begin our Star Wars retrospective, rightfully not the beginning where the original film was released and starting a franchise, but the beginning of a Star Wars saga with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Yes, I know that there were a bunch of other stories that took place before Episode 1, but remember, we're only focusing on the movies and the movies alone. Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi are being sent to investigate a political negotiation involving Queen Amidala being forced to sign a treaty making the Trade Federation's droid army invasion on Naboo legal, with Lord Sidious wanting it so too. The Republic is needed to be called in order to warn them that the Trade Federation, led by Newt Gunny, disclaimer, some of these names are kind of hard to pronounce, so I'm just pronouncing them the best I can, wants Amidala to sign the treaty, but on their way, their hyperdrive is damaged and they reside on Tatooine in order to fix it. There, they meet Anakin Skywalker, a young boy slave who is very powerful with the Force. After he wins a pod race, our heroes try to save Amidala and her people. Also, with the help of the Gungans, the droid army will hopefully be defeated, especially with a boy who is destined to save the galaxy. Alright, so what can be said about the Phantom Menace? Well, honestly, nothing that you hadn't already heard. Personally, I actually like the Phantom Menace. Okay, jeez. So much for having an opinion. I think it's just a decent movie. I'm really not kidding. I don't think it's that bad as everyone says, but I will admit there are some things, there are flaws with it. I will admit it has flaws. I don't think it's that bad as everyone says, but I will admit there are some things about it that are flawed. First, you have to understand that this is a prequel. Of course it's not going to be as good as the original trilogy. Of course it's not going to be legendary as the classics. I mean, it's just obvious. Right from the opening title crawl, we see things that seem odd, but actually they are not. The word taxation is not an afterthought. It's actually referenced in the film itself. Also, the story is a little bit confusing at first because of the political talk, but it actually makes sense. I'm perfectly fine with the political side of Star Wars. And yes, George Lucas himself said that the storyline takes place at a time when the Old Republic laws are old and dying, and that it's the rise of the Sith, and that the Republic thinks that there should be a new set of laws in place. The dialogue is a bit slow and can drag at times, but I never really minded most of the dialogue. And yes, I said most of the dialogue because there are a lot of lines that shouldn't have been written, and if they are meant to be written, they should have been tweaked severely, but I'm not expecting Shakespeare here. But trust me when I say I have seen worse. Yes, there is a reason why I'm reviewing the prequels first as opposed to the original trilogy. I like to watch the saga from the very beginning, where the storyline takes place and everything, but I'll explain more on that later. Anakin, talking about the character, not the actor playing him, which is Jake Lloyd by the way, is smart, intelligent, knowledgeable, and somewhat bland. Yeah, he was okay. I'm not gonna say he's a fine character, but then again, this is Anakin as a kid.
I don't understand.
I honestly do not understand why everybody's hating on Anakin. I really don't. It's not his fault. It's not even the character. The character's fine. It's just the direction and the script he's given. It's not the character, nor the person playing him. It's the dialogue and the directing. It's not the way we picture characters, but we understand what purpose they serve. They are the stepping stones to who we know. The action scenes are great. When you think of Star Wars without having seen the movies and notice all the references that these movies provided, which I'll get to later, it would be the action scenes. The pod race sequence was really cool. Seeing all the different pod racers zooming about with all the different sound effects and everything is just fantastic. It was epic with a haunting score. It was really well done. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there are a bunch of other characters too. Oh boy. Alright, we already established Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Betrayed Federation, and Queen Amidala. But there are a bunch more. But this is something that I like about Star Wars. Well, one of the things I like about Star Wars as opposed to Star Trek. Okay, firstly, let's just get this out of the way. Darth Maul contributed very little to the story. He hardly served a real purpose to the narrative, outside of a Sith encounter that Qui-Gon had on Tatooine, where the two of them were fighting for the first time. Amidala was okay, but she sounded really bland and almost bored. I don't know if it was intentional, but I actually never really minded her. Padme was fine. Natalie Portman does a pretty good job. At least she contributed something to the story. She actually is Queen Amidala in disguise, so that she wouldn't get caught by the Trade Federation. Qui-Gon Jinn is decent. At least he does his job. Hey, he's actually played by Liam Neeson. You know, Oscar Schindler, the Taken trilogy. You know, he does a pretty good job of it. But here, Liam Neeson is just average. And Anakin's mother, Shmi, was actually a very interesting character. I actually wanted to know more about her background, and about her, because she actually was a very good personality. She's the one who helps motivates Anakin to become a Jedi to be. And finally, we have Senator Palpatine. He's actually interesting. Palpatine was probably one of the best parts about this movie. He's played by Ian McDiarmid, who, I'll get back to him later. And yes, let me get the elephant in the room out of the way. I have an argument for the midichlorians.
This is tense!
Midichlorians are microorganisms that live inside human beings that coincide with the Force. They communicate with the Force, but they are not the same thing. My point is made thanks to a few pieces of dialogue, that there is a prophecy that states that there will be one person who will bring balance to the Force, and that without midichlorians, the Force would be just some unknown entity. The midichlorians help shape what the Force is today.
Without the midichlorians, life could not exist, and we would have no knowledge of the Force. They continually speak to us, telling us the will of the Force.
I am not in any way, shape, or form supporting the inclusion of the midichlorians. I am just saying that midichlorians and the Force are not the same thing. So, relax. Be mindful of your thoughts. In the Star Wars universe, if you're new to Star Wars 2, have a wide assortment of different worlds to explore. Here we have Naboo. Speaking of which, on the same planet is the underwater city where the Gungans live. Tatooine, an all-desert planet that is run by the Hutts, and Coruscant, which the planet is not only where the political talk and where the Jedi Council resides, but the entire planet is one giant city. All these different worlds are interesting and have their own personalities. So yeah, I really don't mind this movie, and I don't know why this movie is getting so much hate. It was praised when it came out, so why is it being hated upon? Yeah, it's disappointing, but it is far from bad. But if there's one thing that we can all unanimously agree on, is the one single solitary aspect that is stupid and horrible. You all know what it is. Say it with me now. Jar Jar Binks.
No, Misa stay. Misa called Jar Jar Binks. Misa, your humble servant. You saved my again.
I cannot stand this guy. I mean, I have felt worse, but seriously, I can't stand his voice, his clutziness, his stupidity, and the fact that he is just plain annoying. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but that, my Padawans, is the one thing that we can all agree on is the worst part about this movie. One other big problem that I noticed while watching this movie again after all these years is that it's really slow. That I think is part of the problem. I mean, it's like about 70% is dialogue based. The dialogue is not even that interesting, but yet at the same time I never really minded it. It's just jarring. Overall, The Phantom Menace is just decent. Understand that it's a prequel, and if you watch the original trilogy first and the prequel trilogy last, you'll probably be really pissed off at the level of quality between the original and prequel trilogies. But if you watch the movies in chronological order like I do, then you'll have to understand where The Phantom Menace lands. I acknowledge its big, if not ginormous flaws, and I try to see past most of the problems. If you can stand or ignore Jar Jar Binks, the slow and confusing political dialogue, and if you want to see where the Star Wars story begins, then I say, see it, but at your own risk. I say give it a chance.